Yo, what's
What's going
up,
on?
Greg?
Good to see you.
Hey, everyone in the chat. Cupcake Smasher, what's good? Elbow cough. Is that supposed to be like a dab? Um, Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What's Going On. I'm your host, Jack. Today, I'm here with Greg, who is the newest member of Kapwing, also my new boss. Welcome, Greg.
Yeah, excited to be here. I've been kind of in and around the creator space with the past few companies I've worked for. So excited to kind of maybe talk about some trends and stuff we're seeing, and hopefully people enjoy it.
Absolutely, yeah. Really excited to talk to you about all this today. Greg used to work at Shopify, so knows a lot about e-commerce and creators and how you can blend that into a happy marriage of money making, no matter what your size of creator that you are. Before we jump into that, though, I want to ask you guys, what are you doing this weekend? I'm asking you, Catherine, Flora, and Cupcake Smasher individually. I want to hear, Greg, what are you doing this weekend? Happy Friday.
Oh, I shouldn't have gone first. Really embarrassing stuff because it's mostly like home reno. So getting some things in my new house kind of situated, which, can be fun in its own right, but it's certainly not the most exciting thing in the world. I'm excited for it though.
Awesome. Yeah, we're gonna make a home studio for more videos, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, that's way overdue. Yeah, that should be at the top of the list. We'll see.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just don't really have too many exciting plans either. Just gonna be playing some Dungeons and Dragons as usual. Big nerd vibes from over here. Let us know what you guys are up to in the chat. But okay, working on a positive clothing line. Very cool. You might like this episode because we might be able to help you figure out how to monetize content to help promote some of your business. So really excited that you're here. Let's dive in. Today we are talking about how creators can make money, both independent creators. We'll also be talking about, secondly, B2B creators, the hidden full-timers out there who don't have many followers but are probably making a killing online. We're going to be talking about all this today. I think let's talk about our independent creators first because we have I think most of our viewers are probably some independent creators. So let's speak to you guys out there. And cool, birthday party, pancakes and booze art show, and yeah, exciting stuff tonight. But let's get into this. Greg, I know you've worked, well, tell us a little bit more about your role at Shopify and how you saw sort of commerce and creators blend together.
Yeah. So my roles at Shopify are mostly oriented around like growth. I mean, growth is really just like fancy company term for help us find more users, connect them to the product, help them be successful with the product. And we were definitely noticing a trend that like creators were this really sort of overlooked users of Shopify's product. One thing that creators do really well, we can talk about this some more maybe later on or flesh this out, is like they solve one of the biggest problems that new Shopify customers have, which is actually the distribution problem. Lots of folks are pretty inventive and creative with their product ideas. And then they set up a Shopify store and they quickly find that like, okay, I have my independent site. I have my brand just the way that I want it. Now, how do I get people to like show up to my doorstep? Like I'm not physically located anywhere on a main street where there's foot traffic. I have to actually get people to my store. And that's kind of the trade-off that you make between like an independent brand, an independent website, and like selling on these sort of like other platforms, which Shopify does help you with. But we obviously are encouraging people to sort of set up their own shop. But it's hard to get attention. It's hard to get customers. It's hard to build awareness. And creators they were coming to us with that problem kind of figured out, like in a weird way. They were sort of like, I have the audience, but it turns out like monetizing 50,000 followers just with YouTube ads or with brand sponsorships, it's still pretty tough gig. So is there something I can do here on the commerce side? And that pairing ended up being, PB&J. It's like they brought the marketing already sort of figured out. And we were finding that Shopify was really helping them on this sort of like commerce side, or if to put it another way, they had kind of figured out the content and they needed help with the commerce side. And those two things, content and commerce, are sort of like the bedrock of the creator economy in a way.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think a lot of people, I mean, even though it's sort of, when you say it, it seems so obvious, I think a lot of creators would be surprised to know how much you can monetize from such a small number of followers. You don't need to have millions of followers to make a full-time gig. I think a lot of people just don't even really know where to begin with commerce and e-commerce. It's, you know, it seems like a big hurdle. Obviously, a lot of companies are doing work to try and make that easy for people. But I think a lot of people don't even know that it's like sort of an option. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you've seen commerce help creators, how they've gotten started, what types of things they're selling, just overall give us the whole general overview of like what that might look like for a creator of, say, 25,000 subscribers or something like that.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things to consider, and this is probably one of the more like practical or tactical things we can share today, is like when you're getting started as a creator and you're building up the sort of content side, even long before you figure out commerce, so to speak, like, kind of take it easy on yourself and know that in the first stages, you can just sort of have this like commerce ear. Like you're creating the content, you're getting feedback from people around what kind of videos perform well, what kind of content performs well. If you're using content to kind of help people figure things out, they will often ask questions in the comments of like, what product can I use for that? Or what do you use for that? And I know that can be a good tip off for sponsorships and partnerships as well. But it can also start to tip you off with like, lots of people ask me about how I do this or how I solve this or what would I recommend for this. And honestly, like, I don't have a great recommendation. Like, is it possible that the recommendation should be my own product? It might be strange to think of like your sort of like audience building, your content creation as a form of like customer development. Forgive me for the very corporate term here, but you are learning about what an audience is interested in, what they like, what they don't like, what products they buy, how they go about their hobby, how they go about their interest or topic. Like, you are learning a lot about people, right, as you create content. And creators are naturally like, they understand people's motivations really well. They understand what they're looking for. They're really opinionated and creative about what people like and don't like. I mean, that is very entrepreneurial. Like, a lot of creators really don't recognize that building up this audience is like an entrepreneurial activity. And all throughout just the content part of the process, you're getting to understand a group of people like really, really well. Like, sometimes better than they know themselves, because like they're sharing this feedback with you. You've seen the same feedback 100 times. They don't know that. You end up really, really deeply understanding, these folks that you're kind of like creating content for. So that's one thing, is like, if you ever want to kind of consider going full time as a creator, like keep that sort of like entrepreneurial ear, that sort of like commerce ear, just like keeping your ear to the ground and really listening to like not only the feedback you're getting on the content, but just like what people are kind of doing in your space, right? Like, I think that's really, really, really helpful. And then other instances are sort of like one creator I really, really love is Sonia of Partly Sunny Projects. So she represents to me like one of the very best like transitions. Yeah, perfect. She represents one of the best transitions from like creator to full-time entrepreneur. When we talked to her, she was able to make the jump to full-time at about like 100,000 to 150,000 TikTok followers.
Wow. And
during sort of the onset of the pandemic, she was teaching people about gardening, about planting. She became known as like TikTok's plant mom, which is perfect branding. I don't know if she came up with that or her audience sort of gifted her that perfect title, right? But just like what I said, like, she was listening to what people were doing. Like, she's helping them with this hobby. They have lots of questions. They're watching all of her videos, all of her content. They're leaving questions, they're leaving comments. So she becomes sort of like not only not only this like entertainer, but she like really deeply understands what these like hobbyist gardeners or plant lovers are sort of interested in and what they're looking for. And
Yeah.
so, does she have to go out and get a brand deal or sponsorship for a relevant product? She could, but she decided to go direct. And so she has her own products really across the board that anybody sort of like following her for the content is like, oh, like she not only recommends this, but she actually like makes it, produces it, and oversees and has a say in the quality and how it's made. Like, I mean, what kind of better sort of like, what was sort of better sponsorships could you ask for? Like her name is all over it, right? They trust her and they trust her products too. Right. So I really loved watching her journey. And again, she made the jump, I think, far sooner than most people would expect, right? Like 150,000 TikTok followers is not a lot these days, but
yeah,
she's a full-time business owner. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even just looking at this website, it's easy to tell, like, there are tons of different revenue streams coming in from her content. Obviously, I haven't even seen the content, but just from the website, you can tell, like, you have sort of one-off purchases you can make. I also saw here there's a subscription model, and yeah, all different types of products like wood blocks, actual plants, seeds, all different types of things. That it's very impressive that someone could make a full-time living from this, but also like when it's actually done in front of you, it seems pretty obvious. Like, why couldn't anyone just do that? Obviously, it's difficult to get to 100,000 TikTok followers or whatever, but like, it's not as difficult as it used to be. Like getting 100,000 followers these days on TikTok, I feel like it's not as hard as it was like to get 100,000 on YouTube like 10 years ago.
Yes.
And so now, like, and even like, obviously we're talking about full-time people, but like if you had a tenth of that and could supplement a good portion of your income and work part-time and then focus more on your business, that's another way to like get started as well.
Yeah, totally. And like, I would encourage people to like, archive.org or something where you can see old versions of people's websites. Like, if you see this and you're sort of like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on here. And there is so much going on. She has a beautiful, wonderful business. You could put her site into archive.org and see what she was doing when she got it started, right? And it was much more simpler, straightforward. And in doing this, she's not saying I'm not going to do product partnerships or sponsorships, right? This is just like another avenue to monetize. And again, like what we were just talking about, you start up a plant business without the creator aspect, and they got to send out like surveys to people to figure out what you want. She knows what everybody wants because she's at like the heart of this like community that's always talking about this stuff, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, even like as I explore on here, I'm finding even more ways to make money. These classes that she has, it's really incredible. Yeah, like if you're so deeply ingrained in a community, how easy it is to give the people, not that I'm saying what she's done is easy, but like how successful it can be at just like giving the people what they want, right? Like that's what it's something I say in my everyday life for content is like, just give the people what they want. Like I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah. Well, on your comment too about sort of like the effort of it, I can't remember who said this to us, but during one of our creator interviews, one of the creators we were chatting with said like, I basically traded the success rate of being a full-time like million subscriber creator for the success rate of being an entrepreneur. And they're both pretty tough, but in that person's mind, and I agree, like the path towards being a successful entrepreneur actually has maybe a higher success rate than the path to being this sort of like 10 million YouTube subscriber, which basically makes you a celebrity, right? So it's like, which path, results in sort of more full-time or successful people, probably entrepreneurship, but they both take a ton of work and a ton of sweat equity. So.
Absolutely. Oh, Megan in the chat loves her content. So that's really fun. Clearly it's, it's interesting because you say like, a lot of these people are of the really big creators, you have to be a celebrity. These days, I feel like with TikTok, and this is something you hear a lot, is like you can really get by now with being like a more niche celebrity, not celebrity, but content creator, and finding your
Mhm.
niche is like really important. I know that's said over and over again. I think it's true though, like especially in this case, being able to find a niche and really be ingrained in that community helps you, like what you were saying. It's like a lot of business research. Creating the content when you have a niche, you can then just provide for that niche really easily.
Totally.
Yeah, and not. I hope this doesn't come off as like shady at all, but like it's amazing too because this website, like, it's not like a top tier website necessarily, like built from the ground up. It's pretty DIY, and it's amazing that like
Mhm.
anyone can make an full business. Just things don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be like you don't have to have an entire team behind you to make a good living with content.
No, no. And I think like, something that's frequently overlooked is like, let's make up an extreme scenario that probably wouldn't happen, but just for fun. It's like for some reason, like TikTok hates plant content. Why? Like they shouldn't. They should encourage it. But for some, in this theoretical scenario, they do. And the plant based TikTok creators, get penalized by the algorithm and they kind of like vanish from your feed. I mean, tragic, in my opinion, is somebody doing home reno and trying to have a decent curbside appeal. But yeah, like say that happens. Like now she has this, she's an independent creator in the sense that, okay, like that wouldn't be an amazing feeling. It wouldn't be a great thing to happen, but she is not tied to her platform so tightly that all of a sudden she has to sort of give up what she's built, right? Like she has this like customer base. She has her own website that's separate from somebody else's algorithm, somebody else's platform. She
Yeah.
uses those platforms well, like all creators do, but she has her own thing now, and it's like it's going to stand the test of time. Like it will sort of outlast algorithm and platform changes, right? Which I
Yeah.
think a lot of folks have like learned from over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the things that we talk a lot on this show, Grace and I, about whenever something usually scary happens on one of these apps where, yeah, TikTok is, I mean, who knows if this would actually really happen, but like, what if TikTok got banned? A lot of people are always talking about that. Or what if they stop paying creators as much because the creators fund is running out apparently at TikTok? And so one of the things we say over and over and over again is like diversify where you're posting, because you never know what's going to happen to one platform. But to your point, yeah, like the best thing you could possibly do is create your own platform, because you can then control that. You're not relying on any algorithm. I mean, obviously, it's useful to make use of these algorithms, but it's you don't want to lose everything if something like that goes down.
Yeah, it's really interesting the number of creators we talked to at Shopify who told us that they had this sort of same moment where they realized that everything that they had built was basically an account on somebody else's website.
Yeah,
And when you frame it that way, it's like very scary. It's like you're talking about like your income, your family's livelihood,
yeah,
and you're like, yeah, this is an account on somebody else's website. And it's okay to
yeah,
have a lot of your audience there, but if you're not looking for something that can sort of like outlast that platform and is
yeah,
independent of that platform, it's a scary situation to be in, even if you're very popular. So
yeah. One thing I think, so now we can all see, like, wow, this is amazing, that this is even possible, that you can make an income from a somewhat smaller, size. But like, I think a lot of people don't even know where to start. Can you like just advise like the very, very basics on like, okay, you have content now, how do you actually create products? How do you make this like shop available to people?
yeah.
I think a lot of people probably get like scared to even start that.
Yeah, I think like when we're talking the very earliest days where you don't even have a channel, you have like a Google Doc with grand plans, like the first thing I would sort of recommend is like, think about something where you could be in it for the long haul, right?
Yeah,
Like you not only are invested in the content, but you're sort of like, this is not going away from my life like anytime soon, because it is going to be it's going to be a lot to shoulder. It's going to be like
yeah,
content creation and this sort of like business side of things. So that's number one. Like number two would be sort of like, again, very early days. Yeah, think about like how the content you want to create kind of orients to or appeals to like hobbyists or people who actually spend money on stuff, right? Like it's better if you want to take this approach, it's better to build up an audience of people who actually spend money on the thing that they're doing, whether it's like a basic hobby or professional development or what have you. And then once you kind of get started in terms of like tactical, like, yeah, I mean, even Shopify itself lets you sort of like test various products with like the print on demand and drop shipping model, which a lot of people like to start with. And so if you've never heard of those, what they basically are is sort of with drop shipping or print on demand, you can sort of find an existing product. You can oftentimes like customize it with your own brand and logo. So let's say sort of like a bag or backpack, and you put your sort of brand's logo on it. And you can sort of sell it, and the supplier will ship it directly to the customer, right? Now, I think like ultimately you do want to get to sort of your own products, like products that you're sort of making and they have some sort of original aspect to them. But these are like really, really helpful ways to test, like, hey, I don't have to order 10,000 backpacks to try this out. I can just sort of like, will people buy it? Will they buy it at this price? You know, can I test getting people from my channel back to my store where I have these sort of like either drop shipped or print on demand products? And actually, you know, and honestly, like making your first dollar, like that really changes things too. Like you sell that first product and you're like, oh, well, like I'm a business now. Like this is this is real. And you kind of get your feet wet without sort of a over investing in like a bunch of product inventory or over investing in a product idea that you have no validation as to whether people will buy it. Right. So I love that transition. We've seen a lot of people make that transition successfully. So I'll do a small set of like print on demand products. They only ship out when people order them. I don't have a stockpile at my house. And then once I've confirmed like people are really buying this, now you can sort of look at like a proprietary or like custom made kind of product for sure.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, a question I have about that is, because obviously it seems like with these print on demand models, that there's really no investment. Would you get started on that like as soon as you start creating, or would you sort of adopt the approach of I should focus on growth initially before I focus on conversion, or are they hand in hand and you should be converting people to your products while you're growing?
That's a good question. I would honestly, I think the best answer honestly would be in the hands of the creator. Like it's up to you to sort of to feel that out. The advice that I would give is that the longer you wait, the less sort of like warmed up your audience is to the fact that you sell products, right? And when that's been going for a really long time, that's the one time you can sort of risk an audience being like, like you sold out, or you're this like business person now, where if it had kind of always been a part of your brand from the start, and you're straightforward and upfront with people, like, hey, I would love to sort of like maybe minimize the number of ads, minimize the number of sponsorships, and honestly just provide like and create products for you directly. A lot of people enjoy that if you're straightforward and honest with them. And if it's been part of your brand from the beginning, like with Partly Sunny, it's just like, that's part of the experience. Like she has amazing, wonderful products that I buy because I watch her, right? I never feel like I'm sort of being like advertised to. So that's something to think about, but I leave it to the creator to really feel out their audience and like their receptiveness to something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think about my own personal like channels. And like for those of you who don't know, I guess everyone, I don't think I've talked about this much, but I run a D&D live show, and we, post a lot on socials. And in one of our players had a custom hat that she was wearing that said, "Ask me about my D&D campaign." And it went viral a little bit, like, niche viral. And then everyone was like, "Where are you getting these hats?" It would have just been such an easy thing to have like created that hat on something like this and sell and make some money from like a natural, like not even advertising out loud, but just like showing off the product in a natural state.
And I love that example too, because it's one where like, if you were going to make like a dog chew toy because you have like a pet channel, it's like, you might want to honestly like kind of invest in like the manufacturing of it, because you might want to make it really tough and reliable. But for stuff that's like more around how clever it is, how it relates to the community, like a hat with like, phrasing that only community is going to get. Like
Yeah.
those are perfect to test because it's just like, go 100% cotton, decent quality hat, and it doesn't have to be like over engineered.
Yeah.
Whereas some products, it's like, yeah, you would, skin cream and stuff like that. You're really going to want to know what's going into
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Versus like apparel, it's like it's easy to have apparel just be kind of community oriented and funny and clever, and you can test it that way. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so that's one way to make money is commerce that you have a lot of experience in. I know we could talk about this a lot longer, but we do have more to get through today. So I wanted to talk to you about some of your other thoughts about sort of the underappreciation, I guess, of or undervaluation of smaller channels that are talking about, I guess, more valuable to more valuable audiences, B2B creators, the hidden full-timers. Do you want to speak to a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, happy to. And like, I honestly think this is some like frontier stuff in the creator economy. Like, I think that this will be something that we look back on and be like, it was so obvious, but it's the frontier right now. And so, yeah, like what B2B creators really represent are these people who are creating content around their sort of profession or their craft or the discipline that they're sort of in. For you and I, it would be sort of like marketing and growth, but then there's obviously lots of other disciplines, engineering, operations, customer support, and so on and so on. So they often like times write about their work. They write about what they're learning about. They publish videos about case studies or experiences that they've gone through. They're really like full stack on the content creation. They do like everything that you would see sort of more traditional, so to speak, creators do, but they're doing it for this much smaller audience of people. And so you wonder like, how do they make it full time if like their posts and videos get like 500 likes? Like, how is that possible? One person I really love as an example, by the way, if folks want to see a little bit like kind of what I'm talking about, Lucy Wang runs this channel called Tech with Lucy. And she was formerly a infrastructure engineer at Amazon AWS. And she left her, very highly paying job to go full time as a YouTuber. And she's at about 74,000 subscribers now. But when she left, she was at about 50,000 subscribers. Wow. And that really blew my mind. Like I do really love her videos, even though I'm not really the target like viewer for it, but I love watching how she's sort of like grown this channel and this community. And she's been very transparent that like the reason she can make the leap at 50,000 is she attracts, spoilers, other infrastructure engineers, right? Like shocking, right? But these infrastructure engineers, like not only are they, highly paid individual employees, they're often managers with like budget, right? So she's getting in front of folks that are hard to hire. They're paid really well. They manage like an extensive amount of budget. And so her brand partnerships, her CPMs are like off the charts, right?
Yeah, wow.
Like not only do people pay to get like products in front of this audience, but she's attracting people who are trying to grow the career. They're very ambitious, right? They're very technical and smart. And so she also has offers for like recruiting, help us get in front of these folks that we want to recruit and hire, So at 50,000 subscribers, she was able to leave an infrastructure engineering job to make videos full time. And it's insane. Like, yeah, I don't want to like, I don't want to estimate or make predictions around like her CPMs. I'm sure if she has shared it, you can find it. But I remember her talking about it and, just generally it being higher than anything I had ever seen ever and on any topic. So it's really wild. Like when you get into these sort of professional spaces, just how much is possible with such a small audience.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of reminds me, and I think maybe this was sort of the first industry to do it, because I feel like a popular sort of B2B creator are like these finance creators, or at least they seem sort of adjacent. I guess it's still oftentimes for the individual, but you can think about like these like Graham Stephan type people who are making content about personal finance. I feel like it's obviously different, but it's not so different. It kind of feels similar. And Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, everyone, like, I would watch a, you know, I mean, content marketing, there's tons of content marketing videos out there, but if I were an engineer, um, like, that's not a super highly talked about uh, content topic. So I
Yeah.
think it's, and like, again, I hate to keep commenting on um, like, I guess it comes off as a criticism, but I really mean it as a amazing thing is like, these thumbnails, like they all look really the same. It's not, there's not
Scrappy.
like clearly like a
Yeah.
brand designer doing this. Yeah, it's very
Hmm.
scrappy. And clearly like doesn't matter. It's really working. That also
Hmm.
must speak to Lucy's like charisma. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like I think a lot of people, you know, also just chicken out from making content in the first place because they're like, I can't, do all the branding and I can't do blah blah blah. But like clearly, if you have the right content and have the right niche, it works.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think something that like Lucy and folks like her really understand, and something that really speaks to like why the name B2B creator, right? Because like we are talking about individual professionals. Um, I think the difference with them between like personal finance and like what Lucy is doing is again, they bring aspects of the company along with them. They bring company budget. They can share videos internally. If you're helping people do things a certain way, like if you become a creator around sales and you share a really, uh, really useful or valuable sales process, the sales manager might drop the link into their Slack to the sales team and be like, check
yeah,
this out. And so like B2B creators, like they are individual or they are targeting individuals. Like the watchers are obviously an individual person. It's not like the entire Microsoft cloud team gets online at
yeah,
once to watch a
yeah, yeah,
video. It's like one person at a time. But they bring the company that they represent along with them. They bring the budget. They bring the ability to expose the content to sort of other professionals. And that's what I think like creators like Lucy like really they either understood from the jump or they've been able to kind of tap into it. And it's been just like, I think it's kind of like totally flipping the script on like what it takes to sort of be a full-time creator when you think about it this way.
yeah, yeah. No, it's very impressive. At such a small channel. And yeah, like I mean, these videos that I was showing, there are some that have like over 100,000 views, but like most of them are really only getting between like around 10,000 views, which is not nothing. It's a decent amount, but yeah, I can only imagine like with these CPMs how much that can add up over time. I think people also forget that like it's not just you're getting 10,000 views after the month is over, right? And that's what you've gotten. Like these videos will continue to get views for years probably.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they make you passive income over time. And the more videos you have, the more is collecting and that really adds up.
Yeah. And I think it's funny when you replace views sometimes with like a really specific audience replacement, like 10,000 views, like that would be your average video. And then for Lucy, it's 10,000 infrastructure engineers making over 200K with a
Yeah.
budget of like $1 million per year. And it's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
that's why
yeah.
her videos are so valuable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I learned that lesson long ago that like it's really when I started off my content career just going for like the vlog route, which I feel like is like for sort of Gen Z or even millennials, like that was sort of the obvious thing people were doing is, making like day in my life and like just talking about regular stuff and not really having like a specific point of view. And those
Mhm.
CPMs are rotten. I'll just say that, like,
It's an uphill battle, right?
yeah, like a few bucks per thousand views. But if you are, if you have expertise and, um, your intended audience uh, is like really high value viewers and you're actually attracting that audience, obviously you need to do both. I
Hmm.
can only imagine the revenue potential. So go
Hmm.
Lucy.
She's killing it.
Congratulations. Um, yeah. Um, well, I think we should probably wrap up soon. Do you have any last thoughts about um, this sort of untapped B2B model and how creators can tap into that?
Yeah. Yes, totally. I think like the way that I would, if you're interested in this, like if you are interested in getting started in this, I would say that, um, the worst case scenario obviously is like if you write about or publish about or record about your work and you do it the wrong way, you do have to be careful because it could be adjacent to your career. So I do want to add the disclaimer that it's like, while Lucy was doing this while at Amazon, I'm sure she had to be pretty careful about what she was sharing and how she was
Yeah.
representing both herself and the company. So keep that in mind. But I would say like, as long as I'm sure everybody here, will be smart and sharp about that. And if you can do that, the worst case scenario is like you don't go full time, but you're able to build up a little bit of traction in your sort of like professional community, which can expose you to like job offers, which can expose you to a lot of different opportunities that might accelerate your career. I know, like, I mean, maybe full circle, we kind of started with like, some of my time at Shopify. And a big part of myself getting the role at Shopify was that my hiring manager had actually seen a lot of my own writing and videos on marketing. And so before they actually started the interview
So
process
you're
with
a
me,
B2B content
I
creator yourself.
don't let
Oh my God.
don't let this out there. This is just a secret between us. If this gets too popular, it might not be might not be the opportunity that it is. But no, seriously, like since they had sort of seen a lot of my work in that space, the first call, they really understood like my philosophy on marketing, like how I approach things, like case studies. And that's like way more impressive than this sort of like typically unblemished resume where like everything goes well and you've never made a mistake in your life.
Yeah.
Like the creator style is like, oh, like we ran this experiment and it went so poorly, but like here's what I learned from it. Like they're really honest, like authentic. Like people know that you're the real deal when you sort of share your work, your professional work. So as long as you're careful and smart, I think like the worst thing that can happen is you just don't go full time, but you have this really great portfolio that can kind of come with you from job to job, or even make introductions to new places, or help level up your career just generally. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, clearly there's a lot more opportunity for, revenue potential for creators. And I think a lot of people even think of, you just have to find those niches, get into it, be scrappy, try it out. And I think I feel like it's like a little bit of a silly thing that you always hear. That's like, millionaires have at least 7, streams of revenue, but like, it's kind of true, which is like, there are so many different ways to make money. You can't just expect that you're going to get millions of subscribers and make all your money from AdSense and brand deals. There's so many different ways to make money online. Commerce, brand deals, AdSense, all the different short form platforms that are having ads now. Selling your own products, affiliates, selling courses, like there's so many different ways to make money now. And so you just gotta go for it.
If there's like a,
will buy.
yeah. I was gonna say, if there's a universal takeaway from this, is that like making money is like a skill. Like when I say a skill, I mean a skill in the same way that a new hobby or something like exercise is a skill that it's like you get better at it over time. Like earning that first dollar is so valuable, not because of the value of the dollar, but you actually learn what it took to like have a product, come up with a product, have an audience, find someone who wants it, make the sale. Like it teaches you so much. So I think like one of the biggest takeaways, no matter where you're at on your journey, is just like money making is a skill. You have to sort of like, you have to flex and train, and you can get better at it over time for sure.
Cool. Well, you heard the man. Go make some money. Go flex those muscles. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. Really excited to have your experience and expertise on the Kapwing team. Welcome, Greg, to Kapwing. Really just appreciate, all this experience you have as a B2B creator yourself, apparently.
Maybe more soon from there.
Yes.
Keep watching.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We are here every Friday at 1 p.m. EST. Make sure to join us next week. We're always reporting on creator news, creator tips, and how to make you a millionaire with no views. So we'll see you guys next week with more content. See ya.
Take care.